The morning the Roman Empire crossed the Danube, the world felt as if it were holding its breath. A river that had long served as a boundary between Rome and the wild frontier now stood as the final barrier between two civilizations destined to collide. On one side, the disciplined might of Rome. On the other, the fierce, mountain-forged warriors of Dacia. And at the center of it, old Emperor Trajan, mounted upon his horse, staring across the water at the land he intended to conquer. The legions had been preparing for months. Camps sprawled across the river's edge like miniature cities' armories, watchtowers, engineers' workshops. Everywhere one looked, soldiers tightened armor straps, sharpened gladi, oiled shields, and murmured prayers to Mars. Warat kam. But the true marvel wasn't the soldiers. It was the bridge. Apollodorus's masterpiece stretched across the Danube like something born from myth. Massive stone piers rose from the river, supporting a wooden roadway wide enough to carry entire cohorts side by side. As the final planks were hammered into place, the legions stared in awe. Rome had not simply built a bridge. Rome had created a weapon. When the horn sounded, the first legion advanced. Shields glinted. Armor rattled in unison. The bridge trembled beneath the weight of thousands of men marching in perfect formation. Horsemen followed. Supply caravans rumbled across. Siege engines creaked, dragged forward by teams of oxen. An empire was crossing from safety into the unknown. But the Dacians would not idle. From the forests beyond the riverbank, scouts watched every movement. Messengers raced to King Decebalus, carrying news of Rome's advance. Decebalus understood what many Roman senators did not. This was no small conflict. This was not a border skirmish. Once Trajan crossed the river, there would be no retreat, no negotiation, no mercy. This was a war for survival. Dacia's warriors gathered in hidden valleys and fortified positions along the mountain path. Their curved falx weapons gleamed in the sunblades designed to bypass Roman shields and helmets. Their fortresses, carved into the mountainside, were stocked with grain, weapons, and fresh water. Everything pointed to one truth. Dacia was ready. When the first Roman scouts stepped onto Dacian soil, they found an eerie silence. No armies, no villages, no sign of war. Only abandoned fields and empty roads. The Dacians had vanished into the mountains. Trajan knew this strategy well. Decebalus was trying to stretch Roman supply lines, lure them into narrow passes, and strike where the terrain favored the defenders. Rome would not fall for the trap. Trajan ordered slow, calculated progress. Roads were carved through forests. Bridges were built across ravines. Watchtowers were raised behind the advancing force. Every step forward was deliberate, controlled, and protected. Then the mountains erupted. Dacian warriors swept down from the cliffs in sudden attack arrows, streaking through the air, spears raining down, ambushes striking like lightning. They vanished as quickly as they appeared, using the terrain as their shield. Roman casualties grew. Morale wavered. This was not the open battlefield Rome preferred. This was the Dacians' world. But Trajan refused to be intimidated. He rode at the front of his forces, inspecting ambush sites, speaking to injured soldiers, praising those who held the line. The legions saw a commander who did not hide behind walls. They saw a leader who shared their dangers. Slowly, Rome adapted. Scouts moved ahead in larger groups. Auxiliaries familiar with mountain warfare took the lead. Engineers cleared forests to remove ambush. Cover, step, V, step. Rome forced its way toward the heart of Dacia. The first major clash came near Tapae, narrow mountain pass that served as a gateway to the interior. The Dacians fortified the ridges, their war cries echoing through the valley as horns signaled the beginning of battle. Roman legionaries advanced in dense formations, shields locked, pushing uphill against a storm of spears and stones. The Dacian folks sliced through shield rims and armor plates, forcing Rome to adapt on the battlefield itself. Officers barked orders for tighter formations. Archers answered with volleys that darkened the sky. The clash was brutal, relentless. Hours passed. Blood soaked the earth. And then, the Dacians began to waver. Trajan personally led the final push, driving his men forward until the Dacian line finally broke. Warriors fled into the mountains. The pass belonged to Rome. But Trajan did not celebrate. He knew exactly what this victory meant. The road to the Dacian capital was open, but the war had only just begun. For every battle won, the terrain grew harder. For every fortress taken, another rose ahead. And at the center of this tightening spiral, King Decebalus watched and waited, planning his next move, preparing traps, seeking allies, and gathering the strength for a Trajan's legions advanced deeper into Dacia, but the shadows grew longer, the paths more treacherous, and the enemy more determined. Rome had crossed the Danube. Rome had won its first great battle, but the war ahead would test the empire like never before. And soon, Trajan would discover that defeating Decebalus once was not enough.